Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the MFGCast. I am your orange meeple forever. I'm Kurt.
And this is D. Wyatt.
uh, we why does that throw me off every time? I don't know why.
I love it, but I didn't know that you're the orange meeple either. So we're learning something new every day.
That's right. We are doing in the next couple of weeks on our YouTube channel and on the podcast. We're actually doing a spotlight of everything pandemic. It's just something that we love, and there's a couple of different games out there that we've played, and we kind of want to spotlight them. Tonight, we're actually talking about, or whenever you're watching this, we're talking about Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu. It's a game that I have not played, but I'm interested to know, so take the journey with me. But Dan has a little setup, and we're just going to kind of talk about why Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu is something that is a game that you should know. Yeah, if you haven't already. I mean, it's not like it's Pandemic, you haven't heard of it, but hey, there's a lot of people that haven't played this version, so it'd be nice to learn about what this is all about. So Dan, take it away.
Yeah, it's like so it's actually, what's pretty funny is this actually sprang up from a talk about Orleans recently, how like Orleans is like a game system, and it's not just that game of Orleans. You can do co-op, you can do this, you can do that. And then I started looking at Pandemic and realizing it has really spread far from what it originally was. That first Pandemic game, cure the diseases, don't let people die, don't you want to save the world? Then it's like, oh, and now you can like work in the lab, and there's a hidden traitor, and you can play as the disease, and you can be in the Middle Ages, and there's Cthulhu and dice, and this has become like a new world. It's like Pandemic is actually almost like a system now. And I wanted to, I was playing some Pandemic the Cure is fun, checking into some others. And I came across the Pandemic Cthulhu. And what's pretty cool is it plays incredibly differently than most of your Pandemics, right? And I'm going to flip the screen over here so you can see a little of what I'm talking about.
Yeah. While you're doing that, I just wanted to mention also that, when it comes to everything Pandemic, like you have your other games that kind of steady stream, like your Fluxes that have different versions, and your some of those other games. And after a while, some people get sick of them. But it seems like with Pandemic, it seems like it just continues to get different, but also to get better too. And people are really just stoked about everything that kind of comes out with it. But I digress. And also, if you're watching this too, don't be afraid to get in on the chat and ask us any questions you may have too.
Yeah. Now, like with what you were just saying, like, some people got kind of burnt out, and then I feel like Pandemic Legacy definitely restoked the flames for a lot of people. That really shook up the gaming world. And I think that's one of the biggest things that led to the 1s and the 10s, where this is the dumbest thing ever. I'm not ruining a game I paid money for. And other people going, there is no greater game. There is only the Legacy. All others can only be 9s. And it's like, because why rate the game an 8.5? That would just be ludicrous. It has to be a 1 or a 10, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's funny too, because like it's funny when you talk about people being burnt out on Pandemic. Like, I'm probably a little newer to Pandemic, the original game, than other people, but like it's still a game that I do not get sick of. It's weird. Like, even playing Legacy, it's pretty much a heightened game. Even better than the original Pandemic. But like, even like me and Tracy taught Logan, and I was like, man, it's really good to just play this again,
And especially when you use that base box and you're like, oh my God, only 7 rolls. Man, this is easy. I'll just be that guy.
Yeah. Well, it looks like John from Legends of Tabletop asked us if we've ever won at Pandemic.
Regular Pandemic, what's pretty funny is in the beginning, I used to think that game was too easy, because I played with like alpha gamers who beat the game many times over. So they were just telling me what I was doing every turn. It's like, you're going here. Okay, I guess I'm done. Once I started making my own decisions, yeah, that winning rate dropped drastically. I would say now it's about like 15%.
Yeah, and it seems like for us at the beginning, we weren't winning at all. But that was because, and we've talked about this before, we played it wrong. So when we found out about how eradication of diseases actually really made it a little easier, then we're like, wow, this is a whole new experience.
Wait, did you win like 9 games in a row? Because you're like, this is so easy.
Yeah, exactly. We're just like, geez, this could have been a lot. We were making this so much harder for us.
It's like, well, what do you usually do with your 4th action? You get 4 actions in that game? Yeah.
Yeah. John also comments that he's not a legacy guy. Dude, play the legacy. At least play the first one. You can probably get it on the cheap. Play that game. You're gonna dig it. It's worth it. And we'll talk about that. I would definitely say
it's worth the experience. It's worth the time. It's worth the money. It's worth the experience. Nearing the end, we have November and December to go, and I'm pretty pleased. Even though it's ultimately still Pandemic, it gives you enough twists and enough hooks where even if you're like, oh yeah, you know, we're kind of doing okay. Oh no, oh god, no, and then, you know, massive swing in story and game state, and then you're like, all right, the struggle's back. I'm feeling a little panicky again. So, but
yeah, and John also comments that hardcore players have a tendency to run the game, especially with new players. Like, I definitely think that this is a game that has a lot of strategy to it. And I'm sorry, I don't have my face up right now. I just want everybody to look at the board of Cthulhu. But like, I really think that even though this game has a lot of deep strategy, it's probably one of the easier games to teach to anybody.
One thing that might help some of the alpha gamers is in a game of Pandemic or something like that, where it's very easy to tell somebody, okay, you have to move here, move there, kill those 2 guys, and then, you know, whatever. It might be easier to just go, if this place explodes, we're going to be in deep trouble. Can you do something about that? And let the players figure out how they go to solve that problem. But also that's, I think, why a lot of people play Pandemic solo. And, you know, I mean, that works for a lot. But so let's take a little glance at Bandits here and also learn how to speak eventually. Good Lord. Okay. So
welcome to the MFGCast.
Yeah, right.
We never know
pretty much. So this is the world of the Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, right? Now, there's really no reason for us to do a video about the main Pandemic, because if you don't know what original Pandemic is, you're probably not watching any of these videos or caring right now. But I figured we'll give like a little comparison, like how it weighs in compared to regular Pandemic. And, you know, we'll note like what really stands out as different. So right out of the gate, see what I did there? Gate, Elder Signs, Cthulhu, Portals. Ignore that. If this wasn't live, I would actually ask you to delete that permanently. Okay, so up top, right? This is basically our like infection rate at the top. And it's also our outbreak track. So this game works a little differently where there's not disease cubes. You know, you don't have blue, red, yellow, and green, even though you still have the 4 areas. Every Pandemic seems to love this concept of, you know, let's have 4 zones. Let's have 4 colors. Let's have the 4 whatevers that you must do. Build 4 structures, find 4 cures, close 4 gates. They love that. Now in this game, like I said, there's no disease cubes. You got 2 things. We have some cultists, right? And I am also hoping you are there right now because my screen is frozen.
We're still here. You're still
okay. Good.
We can see them. Yep. Just keep your fingers right there. Oh, beautiful.
So this is your disease cube of every color in this game. This awesome little cultist. Now, what makes this game a little harder is there's only 26 of them. If all 26 are on the board and you need to place more cultists, you lose. There's another way you can lose. The infamous Pandemic running through the player deck. Get to the last card, it's over, right? So, okay, you got 2 ways to lose. That's fine. There's 3 ways to lose, actually. There's also the Sagoths here. And they are trying to usher in the end of the world as fast as possible. And the way that these lovely little minions do that is by trying to head to the gates. So you have the 4 gates, right? Just like, you know, curing 4 diseases in Pandemic. In this, it's trying to close the 4 gates. The Shoggoths will move because, you know, as you can see, like, actually wrong deck, sorry about that. You know, this is our infamous, like, infection deck, right? So like, oh, over here we're gonna put like a minion at the factory, and then we're gonna like go into the farmstead and things. But you'll notice some of the cards have these Shoggoth symbols. Every time you see a Shoggoth symbol, they move to the closest open gate. And if they're on the gate and you get a Shoggoth symbol, hey, guess what? They awaken one of the ancient ones. These are terrible for multiple reasons.
I hear that's bad news.
Yeah. And you know what? I actually went through the whole deck. There is no ancient one of pizza. There is no ancient one that gives you extra actions. Apparently, they're all evil and horrible and do terrible things to you. Like, take, for example, sealing a gate requires an additional card. Hey, you know how it used to be 5? Now it's 6. Have fun with that. Now, you'll notice up here, there's all these cards face down. And these are ancient ones. And as you come across your deck and things happen, like take, for example, you know, in the regular pandemic, it's the outbreak.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's evil stirs. And it seems like you lose sanity to madness, and you awaken ancient ones, and Shoggoths appear. And then the cultists regroup, and you up your quote-unquote infection rate, which means you're drawing more cultist cards every turn. Which means the Shoggoths are moving even faster now, because you're going through more and more cards, and they're running to the gates trying to awaken the ancient ones. And every time these cards come up, you awaken the ancient ones. Now, you see how there's 7 of them up there? The good news is only 6 of them can hurt you. And that's because if you happen to get over here to the final card, it's your old buddy Cthulhu, and the game is instantly over because the world is plunged into an age of madness, chaos, and destruction. You have lost. Yay. There's another way you can lose. And it's like, okay, you know what? We got like the cultists, that's a way to lose. Shoggoth's a way to lose. The deck is a way to lose. The ancient one's a way to lose. Okay, whatever. It's like there's 4 ways to lose this game. That's great. No, there's actually 5. Because this is something pretty fun. You know, you have your character cards, and there's like 7 in the game, and they all have different abilities. And you'll notice that some of them are similar. Like, take, for example, this hunter here. Remove all cultists when doing the defeat a cultist action. Kind of like almost removing all the disease cubes when doing a treat action with the medic, right? And over here, you'll notice you got 4 action points. But you also have 4 sanity tokens. And if you happen to go a little mad, and then you're down to 2, and then you go a little more crazy, and you only have 1, and that last one goes away, well, now you're nuts. Your ability now changes, and you only get 3 actions per turn. If every active hunter or investigator is insane, you also lose the game. So now you have
that never happens. I've never played a game where if everyone goes insane, you lose.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not a fan of that though, because that's like saying that crazy people can't get shit done. You know?
That's true. That's true. They've done a lot for society. They've built walls. They've done lots of things.
But what I enjoy about this game though is now, mind you, we have played this 7 times. We have lost 7 times. It is rough.
So it's brutal, is what you're saying.
It is incredibly brutal. Now, there's only 4 Evil Stirs cards, right? Compared to like the 4, 5, and 6 options in regular Pandemic for the Outbreak cards, you're like, oh, that sounds a lot easier. It's a lot worse. So, you know, I mentioned those Shoggoth guys before, you know, these lovely little adorable creatures they just want to go back home. They just want to find those little portals. Every time you come across one, you have to roll this, the Madness dice. Oh, look, I just lost 2 sanity. Roll again. Oh, look, 2 cultists are appearing at my location. This is great. Now, I've already shown you a lot of terrible things. And you're like, oh, this seems like it's really rough. It's even worse than that. Not only do you roll the Madness token when you encounter a Shoggoth, but it takes 3 actions to kill one, not just 1 or 2. Also, you notice the cultists, just like we mentioned how they're like disease cubes. So if there's 3 cultists in an area, and you have to add a 4th, it's not like Pandemic where the outbreak, and it's like, oh, I'm going to start worshipping over here. And it's not like that. But they just awaken another ancient one. So that pretty much sucks. It's like they combined the outbreak and infection rate track into one awful, hideous thing that also throws you curveballs. Now, there's some cool things in this too. Like, take for example, transport's a lot easier, right? There's bus depots all along the board. And what's cool is, say we're over here, right? Like we got our cool little investigator over here. We can just give up a purple card to go to any city in the Purples District. Or we can give a matching card of our current bus depot to go anywhere on the board. So, travel's a little easier. You'll also notice that the cards aren't cities for the players anymore. They're actually just the general areas. So you only really need 5 purple cards to be able to close a gate. So that seems like a little easier, With the cultists popping up, there's only 26 of them. You don't get 100. You don't get 50. You got to really keep those cultists under control. It's amazing how a couple of dozen lunatics can make really bad things happen in your quaint little city here. Now, another comparison to Pandemic is all those event cards, right? The event cards are now replaced with relics. And, take, for example, the Bizarre Statue, which skips the next summoning step. Does it sound vaguely familiar to One Quiet Night where you skip the infection step this turn?
I was just wondering, is there a certain player that you only need 4 cards instead of 5 to?
I mean, if you're asking me if there happens to be a detective who only needs 4 cards of the same color to seal a gate, well, yes, Kurt, yes, there is.
Jeez, it's like this game wrote itself a million times.
But take, for example, when he goes crazy, he becomes paranoid. And it now costs him 2 actions when he chooses to give or take a clue. So he needs less cards, but if he goes mad, it becomes a lot more brutal. There's like little interesting twists like that. Like you see a lot of similarities in these cards between this and regular Pandemic, but also like a nice, a good mix. It has, like, take for example, one of the things that I was pretty impressed by is the miniatures. It's pretty cool seeing these instead of just like your standard pawns that come in a Pandemic game.
Yeah, I think with this game, I think it has to be a little more thematic because Cthulhu, seemingly in its manner is very, immersive. So I think for this type of game, you kind of have to have that to kind of get people through, because it's like if you did your pawns and you did some whatever, your meeples, or if you did something else, I think people would just pass it by,
like turn on it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and another thing is, and you'll notice like this insert. It's actually a really good insert. Yeah, compared to like every other Pandemic game on Earth. It's not a sheet of cardboard folded with corners. What I like,
which is funny because like how much does that plastic insert cost? You could probably do that for every Pandemic game,
right? Seriously. And what I like is if you chose to paint your miniatures for your heroes, they would actually be still have individual spots, so you wouldn't have to worry about the chipping on your paint jobs and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I got to see if I can get Kim on, because I ain't doing it.
Yeah, I don't have the hand or the patience for it.
Man, absolutely same here. But what I kind of like about this one is it, like I said, it is undeniably harder. The closest thing that we came to was, and also what I like is, these are like your cure tokens. Oh, and actually, even speaking of the cure, there's one other thing in this game that is really interesting. So let's just say the magician over here happened to be on the gate. He's like, you know what? I got the 5 cards. I'm doing it. I close this gate, right? Now, in normal Pandemic, what happens when you cure a disease? Like when you treat the disease, what happens?
It stays cured.
Yeah, and it's like, and you can eradicate the disease, right? Where if all the blue is gone, blue never comes back. Yep. Once you close the gate, 1 cultist from each location leaves. Apparently, they decide this place sucks and they're out. But if you draw another green card, yeah, they'll come back. There is no eradicating. They're cultists. They're not there's no inoculation for faith. Another fun part of this game though is say the portals are still open. If you're over here, you can be like, you know what? I need to get across that city fast. Roll that sanity die, and you can just jump on over to another gate. It's another way of travel, and it's horrific. And when you're down to 1 or 2 sanity, and you're like, I need to close that gate. Oh no!
Well, and I think it goes well with the Cthulhu world, basically, because it's like you basically have a 2.5% chance of actually, making it out alive. So
yeah, and it's it definitely pulls through. It's like, it's weird that they made it Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu. But I think if they didn't put the Pandemic title on this and you play this game, you'd be like, it's like Pandemic with cultists, and then you would be mad.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's probably the conversation they had too. They're like, oh, come on, it's just a Cthulhu game. No, believe me, we know it's all the same stuff.
Yeah, it's like I was just like hoping that I can find like one copy of this misprinted where it says like infection and then just has like whiteout over it. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting twist. It has me coming back. Like I'm still enjoying it. I played 3 games solo, and then I was like, maybe I'm just too dumb. Maybe I need other input here so I can actually get some success. Me and Kim played it. Oh my god, we played it even more than 7 times. We played it together 3 times, and all of those were bad. Then we got our Pandemic Legacy group in with us, and it was great because we played it. And our buddy was like, no, man, we got this. Let's try that again. And then the second game went even worse. And he's like, all right, we can put this away now. He's like, I'm good. Thanks. So.
Well, and because we're spotlighting this, like, obviously you've played it enough. And as much as you've lost, you still enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's weird. I mean, I know I got like 5 or 6 of the Lovecraft games now, but when you think about how many games are out there, that's like only like 0.05%. Because don't forget, Cthulhu was like last year's Zombies, Cthulhu and Barbarians, they're kind of sharing the spotlight for let's put this in every single game forever, like Car Wars Cthulhu and Monopoly Barbarian Edition were, I think, a little excessive, but people got to reskin everything. So, but I'm pretty pleased with how this works, how it plays. The ancient ones up top, it's a deck I think of about 15, so there is variability. Like you're not gonna always see the same ones, and of course there's some that if both of them are in play, you're just like, oh my god, we are totally screwed. But you won't know until they flip, so it's kind of nice for that. Like I like that randomness, not know what's coming. Even like these cards, like I love the fact that travel is now easier. Like if they had it, if this was like the regular Pandemic, you would never ever win. You would just stop playing forever. But the fact that the travel is so much easier is a huge plus in my eyes. Like I really like what they did with that.
Yeah, and it's visually stunning. Like just staring at it right now, as you're talking about, I'm like, I need to play this game.
Yeah, and all right. So 2 other quick little things that I find really fun. Like this is a reporter, right? When she takes a bus, she can discard any clue to go to any location, any town. And if she's on a bus depot, she can just move to any other bus station as a move action. So that's like a little different than Pandemic, It's like a little something else. When she's insane, you can no longer take the bus action. Well, that sucks.
Wow.
And then this character too. This is the occultist. So as an action, she can move occultist up to 2 spaces. And then for 2 actions, she can move a Shoggoth 1 location. It's really cool. Like when the Shoggoth is right here on the portal, and it's like, guys, if we draw a gate, if we draw a Shoggoth card, we're screwed. And the occultist goes, all right, well, he's going back here then. And then like say like, the occultist like happens to be like in this spot. They can just be like, oh, and you know what? I'm going to move this cultist 1 space and I'm just going to shoot him. Or like, especially if like the cultist over here, like, all right, use an action, he's coming to me. Hey buddy, what's up? Blammo. it's like it has a few new roles. Like not everything is recycled. So I don't want people to think, oh, why bother? There is enough variety in this. It's different enough. Like you are playing Pandemic, but they did definitely give you enough changes to give this like a little bit of bite and its own challenges as opposed to, the same old, same old. Also, on a side, one other perk of like games like this, like another reason I wanted to kind of maybe give a little spotlight to Cure and Cthulhu and Iberia and Rising Tide, there is no Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu expansions. Legacy might have like a price tag that some people may not really want to go for yet. You might want to pick up Pandemic, and then you see 3 or 4 expansions, and you're like, oh, I'm going to be dropping a lot. If you buy Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu, this is it. This is all you get. This is all you need. No expansions. And let's just say you happen to play any like, Cthulhu RPG style thing. The miniatures are pretty cool. D&D, you can use them like in a D&D setting, stuff like that. So I do like that, has a little bit of multi-variety to it if you decide to pick this one up.
So do you recommend it for everybody that likes the original Pandemic? Do you recommend it for people that are, maybe they're not quite into Cthulhu?
I would say so. One thing I've heard of Pandemic is there is the optimal setup. And there is 6 locations that you can build research facilities where you can always move to anywhere on the board. No spot is more than 2 moves away, right? Because you can always just do a charter flight, get to the other research facility and go like take care of what you got to do. That cuts down on the difficulty of Pandemic greatly. And that's one of those things like those pro players do, like the people that play on the highest difficulty of Pandemic all the time and still win like 60% of their games. There's like optimal spot, optimal play. It's also the fact that the infection deck, you kind of know, like you can tell the cities very quickly and very easily. With only 4 evil stirs, the deck gets bigger shuffles. Like it is actually possible because, you'll notice it looks like less spots on this board than regular Pandemic. This is the infection deck sleeved. And the only reason it's even sleeved is I got a mark on the back of one of the cards. I constantly knew when it was the junkyard. And I was like, all right, I'm inadvertently cheating. This has to stop. But you'll notice there's less locations, right? There's not that many cards. You can actually run through this entire deck and have to reshuffle this to start putting out cultists between evil stirs. Because if you're drawing 3 cards a turn, you're going through a dozen. There's only like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. There's like about 20-something locations. It's a lot harder to card count than it is in Pandemic. So you got that challenge. Yeah. You can't do those optimal research positions,
Yeah. Plus, it seems like, with you going through the infection deck so quickly that it's going to hype up the game quicker, too, to, get more cultists out and, move the Shoggoth and stuff like that. So, it looks like it really, like, puts that pin in the horror aspect of it. Like, you've got to get what you can done and get out.
Exactly. And one thing I love is, so in regular Pandemic, when there's 3 cubes on a you're like immobile death in in regular Pandemic.
Hey Dan,
I really like that.
Hold on a second. Do you want to start over from what I said, just because you cut out there and I have no clue what you were talking about?
Oh yeah. Okay. So, like one of the things that I really appreciate about this though is, like in regular Pandemic, there's like that. Oh, we got to quarantine this spot. Oh, we know that this card is going to come up in 2 cards. I'll go there and cure it. In this game, these guys are mobile death. There's no mobility in Pandemic. Like you just go, there's 3 cubes there. I know there's 3 cubes there. Yeah, there's 3 cubes here, but now he's over here. And now he's over here. Oh, and now he awakened an ancient one and he's gone. Cool, the disease cubes are gone. But guess what? Yig is here and he's going to wreck your shit. Like, I kind of like that. It gives just like enough of a twist that it changes up the formula and keeps you guessing. And I mean, it actually kind of does give me a little like that anxiety, like, oh, son of a bitch. Like, how many cultists are left? 5? What do you mean there's only 5 left? It's like,
Yeah, and that's something I think Pandemic has always done good, is like really like put home that, you got to get this done. It's not just a empty threat. It's really, one of those things. It's like, get it done or you will lose.
yeah. And I'm telling you, it's like, and even in this one, like, you go mad. One of the biggest hits is you lose one of your action points. Now, there is like a card or two that can restore the sanity, but there's no role that restores sanity. There's not like the therapist or the self-help guru. There's like, oh, come on, man, you're the best occultist I've ever seen. You got this. It's like you need to call upon ancient like powers to restore your sanity. Like the Song of Kadoth. Like it lets everyone regain 1 sanity or 1 player get back full. Now, if one of your teammates has been taking the hit of running around killing the Shoggoths, you're like, yeah, man, let's help Bob. But like when all of you are down to 1 token, which is a better choice? Everyone gets 1 back? That's not bad. But, you roll a 2 on that madness die. Well, that sucked. So, I mean, the die, the ancient ones, there's enough chaos. But at the same time, it's not like you feel like everything is willy-nilly. Like, that's one thing. I mean, the first 2 games, I felt like that. And then a couple of games in, I'm like, all right, I kind of see how this is going. Like, you start to learn what you need to adapt to. What is the greatest threats? Like, how far can you stretch yourself? What is the acceptable losses? And that makes it pretty fun. It's fun to learn it all over again. Like, you can't do the Pandemic, like, alpha play or the gold standard moves. It mixes it up. It is unquestionably definitely worth your time, man. See, now that I'm like talking about it more and more, I'm like, all right, man, I kind of want to do this right now.
Yeah, I know, right? Hey, that's when you know it's a good game, is when you talk yourself into it.
Right? It's like, man, I got to go get that. Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah,
this is my copy. I don't have to go get this.
Yeah, you're just that good of a salesperson.
So
all right, well,
I know you never got to play this one, though, Kurt. Is there has it stoked your interest now? Do you kind of want to give this one a spin?
It has. Like in the past, I've not exactly been the biggest Cthulhu fan. Not that I don't like it. I just never have. And with being on the Legends of Tabletop, speaking of John, being on there doing the Fear Itself game, like really, really immersed my character in Cthulhu in that world and stuff like that. And I don't know, it's cool to see all the stuff that's out there, and be able to play. I don't think I have yet to play a board game that has that theme yet. We almost grabbed Mountains of Madness by Yellow. That's supposed to be kind of like a party game that has the Cthulhu theme to it or whatever. And you've talked about this a couple of times, and I'm like, man, this is actually would be kind of fun to play, just because I love regular. Well, all the Pandemics I've actually played so far, like I really dug. So, and it's just with the theme, how beautiful it is and stuff like that. I just definitely would love to give that a try.
Yeah, I would definitely encourage it. Like, even if you just get a chance at like a board game cafe, or like if a local game shop has a demo or something, give it a spin. And like the other thing too is like this is accessible at Barnes and Nobles now. You can also, of course, find it on the MFGCast Amazon links. That's always an option.
That's right, and I think it's not too expensive. I think it's only like $38, which is not too bad.
Yeah, it's I've seen it like I think when I picked mine up, I got it for about 35, like it was 30% off, which isn't too shabby.
No, not at all. Especially for what you get with even the miniatures. Those sculpts are that drives the price up. So you're getting quite a bit for your money.
Yeah, it's it's funny. It's like I always go like, man, I wonder if there's only like the 26 cultists because they wanted the game to be too hard. Like maybe they played it at 30 and 35 and it was too easy, or if they're like, nah, man, we got to shave another buck off production. Make it 26.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, and it doesn't say it in the rules. I'm wondering if I bought another copy and if I just added all the cultists and all the Shoggoths together, Like if that means like, well, I didn't run out yet. Like I can just keep adding them to the board. You know.
I'm sure after a while it would just be ridiculous.
Yeah, because it doesn't say if there's already 3 Shoggoths on the board. If it says if you need to place one and you have run out. I mean, I find that very particular phrasing. I'm curious. Can I combine sets to to up my chances?
I'm sure you could. Yeah, I'm sure you could.
So yeah, so I mean, in a nutshell, that is the Pandemic Reign of Cthulhu by Chuck D. Yeager. Which is, and that's another thing that I enjoy too. Like Matt Leacock did a lot of the base Pandemics, and like worked on a few of the others. But it's interesting to see these other designers exploring the world of Pandemic.
Yeah, exactly, and that he was able to hand over the reins and get it, reins. I didn't even mean to do that; it just kind of happened.
I applaud your efforts.
I am a humor genius, and that didn't even make any sense. So like I said, coming up in the next few weeks here on our YouTube channel and our podcast, we're actually going to be kind of focusing on Pandemic specifically, just because there's so many games out there, and it'd be nice to kind of talk about the ones that we played and kind of highlight some of the things that we like about it. So make sure you stay tuned to this channel, subscribe if you haven't already. If you haven't subscribed to our podcast, find it on anything that you get your podcast on. Like I said, the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll kind of focus on that. And until then, I'm Kurt.
And this is D. Wyatt.
And we'll see you next time on the MFGCast. Bye, everybody.
Have fun saving the world.
Good luck.